Hello, welcome to another episode of Teeing Off. Today is November 1st, the day after Halloween. Hope everyone had a good Halloween, stayed safe, all that good stuff. I personally did not go trick-or-treating because I am too old to go trick-or-treating, not old enough to have kids, right in that middle area. Anyways, enough of that. Let's just get right into it. Last week I had the WGC HSBC, which was just given away by Dustin Johnson. This week we have the Shriners Hospitals for Children's Open, which I will now be referring to as just the Shriners Open because that name's a mouthful. Let's jump right into last week. JRose took home the title on Sunday, starting the final round 8 shots behind Dustin Johnson, who just happens to be the number 1 player in the world. Instead of becoming the first player to win 3 World Golf Championships in 1 year, though, DJ tied a record for losing the largest lead in the final round of a tournament. He was 6 shots clear of the field, and he did not make a single birdie. JRose would end up winning. He thought that the best he could do was second. It wasn't until he saw a leaderboard behind the 14th green and realized he was only 3 shots behind did he actually think he might have any sort of chance. He got up and down with a tough bunker shot there for birdie. He then made a 10-foot par save at the 15th to stay in it, and then he birdied his next 2 holes. So as he was signing his card after shooting a 567, he looked up and saw DJ's last hope for eagle at the 18th tumble off the side of the green and into the water. So with that, JRose won the WGC HSBC Champions event. Only 2 players in PGA Tour history have come from behind from a bigger deficit, more than 8 shots on the final day. Paul Lawrie came from behind 10 shots at the 99 Open Championship, running down John Van de Velde, but that was more Van de Velde giving it away, as we all remember. And Stuart Sink gave up 9 shots at Hilton Head. Came back from 9 shots in Hilton Head in 2004. So with the win, JRose, it's his first win since the gold medal at the Olympics last summer in Rio. But since it's still technically 2017, he now has a win every year since 2010. Elsewhere around the tour, again another week, another Tiger announcement. His social media presence lately, it's pretty different. Like he's never, obviously he's got an agency and all that, but he does seem to be putting out something every single week, trying to kind of stay in the spotlight. Maybe that's to distract from the other stuff that was in the news with him, try and sort of push that stuff down the news cycle. But his biggest announcement yet, he is returning at the Hero World Challenge, which is his tournament. That's in about a month. It's been 9 months since his recuperation from his latest back operation. He announced on Twitter that he and Daniel Berger will round out the field of his Hero World Challenge. Tiger won 5 times on the PGA Tour in 2013, but he's made just 19 starts since then, including 1 in 2017 at the Farmers Insurance Open in January, where he shot 76-72 to miss the cut. And he announced in April that he had undergone back fusion surgery, his 4th back surgery in just 3 years. His tweet read, basically, I'm excited to return to competitive golf at the Hero World Challenge. Going on to say, Albany is the perfect setting, and it will be great to join this outstanding field. There's a few things here. Obviously happy that he's back. The fact that it's his tournament, he's the host, lends more reason to why he did it. It's only about a 18-man field, something along those lines. So, he's guaranteed to get a ton of FedEx points, but boost his world ranking, which I don't really think he cares too much about at this point. He's guaranteed, even if he comes in last, people will look back in a few months and, Tiger finished 18th. It's not going to be Tiger finished 143rd or whatever. So he's guaranteed to get a top 20, got those FedEx Cup points, world rankings points. As much as I want to be a little bit skeptical and say maybe he's coming back a little early, every time he's come back, he hasn't really played that well. But I know the second I see him at the golf course, the second I see him teeing it up, the second I see him hit a ball, I'm gonna be all in. I'm gonna be all in. So you know what? Let's go. I'm just rooting for Tiger right off the bat. Yeah. So Tiger's coming back in a month. Not much else happened around the tour this week other than that. The event this week is the 2018 Shriners Open. We are in Vegas this week, and yes, it's a full field event, 140 players with a cut, which changes the strategy quite a bit for DraftKings, but it changes it in a good way because it rewards the people that have players that make the cut. If you have a lineup where 6 guys make the cut, you're going to make some money. If you have a lineup where you have the top 3 guys in the field, but the rest of your 3 guys miss the cut, you're done. So it's a lot different strategy in the sense of in a no-cut tournament, you really just want to aim for guys that are going to win. Throw everything at the top. But in these ones, the main thing is having your guys make the cut. So, obviously having a guy, 1 or 2 or 3 guys in the mix is where you're going to make the big money. But really making the cut with all of your players is the main objective of a full field event. So, without further ado, this week's event, the 2018 Shriners Open, takes place at TPC Summerlin. It's a 7,255-yard par 71 course. It is carved from rugged desert on the western outskirts of Las Vegas. TPC Summerlin opened in 1991, same year that I opened, I guess you could say. I know it sounds weird. Anyways, the course is highlighted by a 4-hole closing stretch that is really riddled with risk-reward. The drivable par 4 15th, the par 5 16th, the water-lined par 3 17th, and then a strong par 4 finishing hole, number 18th. This course, Summerlin, was originally part of a 3-course rotation for the PGA Tour's annual Vegas stop, but TPC Summerlin became the sole venue in 2008 as part of tournament restructuring. Last year, Rod Pampling won for the first time on tour in 8 years, tying the Summerlin record with an opening 12 under par 60 and capping a 2-shot win with 4 birdies in his last 6 holes. Now, Las Vegas has proven to be pretty much a haven for first-time winners, with 10 of the event's past 15 champions making it their first title on tour. Smiley Kaufman and Ben Martin in 2015 and 2014 were the latest to do so, and there was a 6-year run of debut winners from 2004 straight through to 2009. So, looking at the field, Charlie Hoffman, it's not the greatest field, not obviously as good of a field as last week's WGC, but Charlie Hoffman and Kevin Chappell, part of last month's U.S. President's Cup romp at Liberty National, they're going to headline a roster that also includes 2016 John Deere Classic champion Ryan Moore. Hoffman and Chappell are among 5 entrants who competed in last month's Tour Championship at Eastlake, along with Tony Finau, who also finished runner-up at the Safeway Open to start the new season. 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, who was eliminated after the first 2 rounds of the 2017 FedEx Cup playoffs, he is set for his Las Vegas debut as he opts to get in at least 1 fall start. And new professional Maverick McNeely, formerly the world's top-ranked amateur, is in the field on a sponsor's exemption. Charlie Hoffman is among more than a half-dozen entrants with Las Vegas ties seeking to keep the trophy in local hands. Kevin Na was the latest to do so. Kevin Na did so on home turf in 2011, followed by UNLV grad Ryan Moore a year later. He is the latest to do so. So, stats this week that I'm looking at. Main stats, strokes gained approach, and proximity from 100 to 125 yards. If you look back at guys that have finished top 10, top 15 the last 4 or 5 years, strokes gained approach has really jumped out as the stat that has set them apart. And there's a lot of shots, whether it's approach shots on par 4s, third shots on par 5s, whatever it may be, there's a lot of shots on this course that are between 100 and 125 yards. So those are the main stats I'm throwing in. Complementary would be strokes gained putting, greens in regulation, par 4s 400 to 450, because that's what the majority of the par 4s are. Proximity 200 plus, Again, similar to the 100 to 125, I think all the par 3s, maybe one of them isn't over 200 yards. And then if you're going to go for a par 5 and 2 or one on the longer par 4s, there's a lot of proximity over 200. So that's a complimentary. And then finally, I always throw in DraftKings points and birdies. And I'm also going to throw in strokes gained par 5 this week. There's 3 par 5s, so it's not quite as prevalent, but definitely still important. So now to my spreadsheet. So the field was 140 players. I narrowed it down to about 50 guys. I think I'm going to play 30 of them. It's one way or the other in about 10 lineups. Obviously some more heavily than others. So I'll get right into that. The top tier, there's no one over 12,000. So the top tier was 5 guys. And that goes from 10,100 to 11,700. Tony Finau starts that up, 11,700. I really like him this week, even though he's the top guy. Usually kind of don't want to stay away from that, but he finished last week 11th. One of the only guys in the field from last week. He was 26th the week before and second, as I mentioned, at the Safeway to open the season. He's done all right here, 41st, 16th, and 7th. So yeah, he seems to have pretty much everything he needs for this course. Webb Simpson, 11,000. Recent history, 17th at Safeway to open the year. Here at this course, he's finished all right as well. The last 2 years, 31st, 56th. But before then, 4th and a 1st. So obviously Webb feels comfortable here. And he sits 3rd in my stats ranking. So again, looks good. Anirban Lahiri, 10,300. Didn't play last week, but the 2 starts before that, a 5th and a 10th. No tournament history, and 68th in my stats. So he doesn't have as much going for him, but just that recent history cannot be ignored. Kevin Chappell, 10,200. No, has not played this year. His tournament history, 62nd and a missed cut. And his stats are 35th. So of the main 5 guys, I'm probably going to lay off Kevin Chappell. But Chesson Hadley is the last guy over in that bubble. He looks good as well. 2nd last week at the Sanderson. 3rd to open the year at the Safeway. He has a 5th place finish here 3 years ago, and he sits 5th in my stats as well. So as we move down to the 8,000 to 9,999, got about 11 players there. I do have listed Gary Woodland and Charlie Hoffman. Don't like them this week, but they're big enough names. They've done enough that I wouldn't blame you for playing them, but I'm going to stay away. Starting off, Patrick Cantley, 9,700. He finished 15th last week. I always like to pay Patrick Cantley. He's just one of those guys that I just think he's going to be a top 5 player at some point. So whether it's this year, next year, the year after, he's going to have a really big breakout year. So like to ride that. As I said, 15th at the HSBC, no tournament history because he was a rookie last year, but 27th in the stats. Ryan Moore, he 17th at the Safeway to open the year. He's priced 9,400. Tournament history, 15th last year, 43rd the year before, then a missed cut, a 9th and a 1st. So he has a win here. And he's 2nd in my stats. So I really like Ryan Moore as well. Byung-Hun An, 9,100. Didn't play last week, 11th and 21st before that. No tournament history. So good form. Jason Kokrak, 8,800, 7th at the Sanderson last week, 17th at the Safeway. Not the greatest tournament history, 74th, 38th, and a bunch of missed cuts. And he sits 36 in the stats. Jamie Lovemark, 8,700, didn't play last week, but 5th, 32nd, 43rd, the 3 prior to that. Missed cut here last year, but a 13th the year prior. So he looks pretty good. Kevin Streelman at 8,400, 26th in the Sanderson last week, 13th at the Safeway to open the year. He has some decent course history, 61st last year, but 16th, 2nd, 22nd, the 3 prior to that. Luke List, he is one of the guys that I actually really like this week. If I were to put, he might be the only guy that kind of sits well in every category. He's only 8,300. Didn't play last week, but his 3 starts before that were 5th, 13th, and 37th. So good form. 15th here last year, good tournament history, and 20th in the stats. So he looks good there too. Smiley Kaufman at 8,200. He came 4th last week, 75th a couple weeks ago. He finished 76th here last year, not great, but won the year before. Obviously, puts him in the running again this year for a pick. And 31st in the stats, not bad. Ryan Armour, he won last week at the Sanderson, so going to ride the hot hand. He's only 8,100. He missed the cut here last year, but he's 4th in the stats, so 3 out of 4 is not bad. Next category would be 7,000 to 8,000. I have 21 players here that I don't mind, but a number of them I'm not really going to really go over. Didn't quite make it for me, but good enough that I'm not going to blame you if you take them. There's enough reason, but William McGirt, Patton Kazire, Bo Hostler, Derek Fathauer, Zach Blair, and Hunter Mahan. They're on my spreadsheet, but not enough to really make more mention than that. So Chris Kirk, 7,700, 34th, 54th, 30th, his last 3 starts. 61st, 36th, 36th here at the Shriners. Not too bad. Bryson DeChambeau, 7,600, 17th at the Safeway, and 36th here last year, 24th in the stats. So he is, considering the price, he is looks pretty good. Canadian Nick Taylor, also 7,600. No play last week, but 23rd, 13th, and 9th, the 3 prior to that. And his tournament history, 54th, 25th, 56th. Not too good, not too bad, but that recent history is why you would take him. Same as Scott Brown. Didn't play last week. 5th, 23rd, 62nd, his last 3. He's 7,400. Sean Stefani, 7,400, 10th at the Safeway, 10th here last year. Jonathan Randolph, 3rd at Safeway, 28th here last year. Vaughn Taylor, these guys are all in the 70, like I said, 7,000 to 7,700 range. Vaughn Taylor, 10th at the Safeway. Patrick Rogers didn't play last week. 33rd, 23rd, 43rd, the 3 prior to that, though. 13th, sandwiched between 2 missed cuts at this event. Tom Lovelady, 18th at the Safeway. He's only played 2 pro events there, with 18th and a 43rd. He sits 7th in my stats. I feel like him as a bit of a dark horse pick. Harold Varner, guy that has been playing really well since about mid last year. Didn't play last week. 26th, 23rd, 59th, his 3 prior starts. Finished 57th here last year and 22nd in my stats. Wee Kim didn't play last week, but 4th week prior to that. James Hahn, 15th here last year. He has a 40th and a 28th so far this year. Benjamin Silverman, he rookie, but 7th at the Safeway, 19th in the stats. Kevin Tway, he has a 28th, a 32nd, and a 52nd this year. Tyrone Van Aswegen, 26th at the sorry, I've been saying Safeway. I meant Sanderson. That's going to be confusing. But so Tyrone Van Aswegen finished 26th at Sanderson, 9th at Safeway. And he's 15th in my stats. And then if you go down to the sort of the basement under 7,000, number of guys here that I have as well. But guys like Nicholas Lindheim, Brian Gay, and Billy Hurley, they're in there, but not going to touch them. Peter Malnati, if we start out at 6,900, he is 34th last week at the Sanderson, 30th at the Safeway. Brendan Hagee, 18th at the Sanderson. Brian Stewart, 4th at Sanderson. Morgan Hoffman, he has 2 23rd place finishes so far this season, and 11th place finish at this tournament 2 years ago. Ricky Barnes finished 10th last week at the Sanderson. He has 3 finishes here at this event in the top 33. Ethan Tracy finished 30th 2 weeks ago. Camila Vajegas did not play last week, but finished 36th, 17th, and 74th already this year, and has 2 top 30 finishes at this event, including a 16th. Rory Sabatini hasn't played much this year, has a missed cut. But he finished 25th here last year, and I have him 1st in my stats, so that's worth mentioning. And another dark horse pick. He's only played 1 pro event, Scott Strohmeyer, which was a 4th place finish last week at the Sanderson, and he is 25th in my rankings here. So, I like him quite a bit. Gonna play him because he'll be very low owned. So that is that in terms of the spreadsheet. Again, if you want a more visual look at it, probably easier to follow, check out Teeing Off blog. I'll put a link in the podcast description. You can also check it out on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud. Follow me on Twitter at RJMCC, ULLOUGH. Let me know your thoughts, or I said just comment on wherever you hear this, let me know what you think. If you are going to play any of these players, or if you haven't, let me know how it's been going. I'm always down for feedback, good or bad. Again, thanks for listening. I'm McCullough. I'll talk to you next Wednesday.